Good afternoon. My name is Norine Lafferty. I'm from Yellowknife and Delo. This is my daughter, Katya Lafferty. She's an author and she's going to be talking about her first book. So my first question is, Katya, why did you choose to write about housing?
Well, I chose to write about housing because I grew up in housing, and I was also the chair of the Housing Corporation here in Delo for the Yellowknife Standing First Nation, our nation. And I saw a lot of the issues that Indigenous peoples are facing. And now I am the co-chair of the National Indigenous Women Feminist Working Group for Housing, where we are really trying to make sure that housing is accessible for everyone, and we have an opportunity to build sustainable homes on our land that we were dispossessed of, in the times when settlers came to Canada. So we're doing a lot of work there, and housing is just really, really important to me, so I wanted to write about it.
Okay, that's great. Is this based on a true story?
It is inspired by a true story about a family who I know that went out on a hunting trip one fall and took what they needed, and they had a little house on the water, and it was off-grid. They lived without electricity or without being hooked up to running water and things like that, but they were very happy and they loved the way they lived and their lifestyle. And when they returned from their hunting trip, their house was gone and it was bulldozed to the ground, and it was because the Housing Corporation, which was the government at the time and still is, took the liberty to assume that their home had been abandoned and bulldozed it to the ground and pretty much put up a housing unit in its place where they were forced to have to live in, and that changed their life from thereafter.
Okay. What is the significance of a family?
Well, I really wanted to portray a family within this book. So there's 5 main characters. There's the father, Ko, his partner, Si, their 2 children, Kwe and Yitwa, and their mother, Mamia. And they all lived together and tried to support one another, but when housing infringed on them, it really separated their families and their family. And one of the ways that they did that was housing had policies that did not allow for their mother, Mamia, to live in the house because she wasn't considered part of their immediate family, and so she then had to move into an old folks home where she was very lonely and isolated, and that was really hard for her. And then Ko and Si both had to work really hard to pay the bills, and then they couldn't take care of their children and teach their children what they wanted to teach them out on the land and things like that. And so I really think housing has a lot, should be blamed for a lot of the breaking apart of families.
Okay. And what is the significance of the color red we see in the enforcers and the tractors?
So the color red comes up a few times in the book, and it really does signify a change, like a sudden change, an unwelcome change. And so the red in the suits of the RCMP, at that time they would have been wearing brown, but my editor told me that they should be in brown suits to kind of reflect the history, but I really wanted to make sure that the RCMP were in red to also talk about bring light to the missing, murdered Indigenous women and children. And then also red signifies the tractors that we see bulldozing, making new roads and building up a town that the settlers called progress, but really it was encroachment of the Indigenous peoples.
What is the connection between the Mamia and the lynx?
So Mamia and the lynx, there's one scene where Si sees a lynx, and it's revolving around a time when her children wanted to go and visit Mamia and they weren't able to because they had to go to school. And Mamia actually sends the lynx with her medicine power to kind of be like a symbolic gesture of how important it is to be around your children and things like that. And so there's a little bit of a connection there to show readers that Mamia does in fact have like special medicine powers that she can utilize. And I don't think a lot of readers will be able to make that connection, so I thought I'd just kind of make sure that that's noted and that people can, when they're reading it, even if it's for a second time, they'll see that that was actually something that Mummy was behind the scenes of.
Oh, okay. Are there certain places that you wrote into the story? For instance, Dilo, the peninsula, the sacred tree?
Yeah, so for right now, I mean, here we are, we're sitting in Dilo in your home community, in public housing, and it's really important to me that I make sure that I pay tribute to my northern home, and that we're surrounded by nature, we're surrounded by rustic beauty, and we're surrounded by a history that hasn't always been good to Indigenous peoples, and so I really wanted to talk about that, and the fact that we're living here in Dilo on a peninsula. I definitely used this area as inspiration for the settings in the story, and also Coppertown is Yellowknife, and that's another setting in the story. Same as the gold mine there across the lake, giant mine. That's also within the story, and it's all under different names, but it's the same places and the places that I know so well.
Okay. Is there a connection between land, water, sky, and this novel?
Yeah, so there's one small connection with one of the characters. I won't say who, but those who've read Land, Water, Sky will know exactly who I'm talking about when they read into the novel, and they'll see the connection there with one of the characters, and they'll see the connection in the settings and in the timeline. So I really wanted to make that almost like a chronicles, because eventually down the road, hopefully Land, Water, Sky will become a series that can be a continuation, and each character can have their own novel. And so one of the characters within, kind of, I guess, in this way, has his own novel.
Okay. What is the significance of Elvis?
So Elvis is an interesting one, because Elvis wasn't actually included in the book until almost the very final edits were done. But I wanted to have some sort of connection between Elvis and Elvis's gospel music and Coe's belief in Creator and his resentment towards Catholicism because of the church and the residential schools, but that his mother appreciated Elvis's gospel music, so there was some kind of common ground that they could find there. And throughout the book, actually, there's quite a lot of talk about religious connotations and belief systems, and it's kind of an underlining theme. So Elvis is sort of this symbolic gesture of the indoctrination that has happened within Indigenous communities because of the residential schools and other impositions of the religious groups and denominations that have come into North America.
Is there a significance of the mosquito?
Yeah, there actually is. That's a good catch. At the very beginning of the book, and the first scene, actually, there's a scene where Coe, as a young boy, is there's a mosquito that's flying around him and bothers him and gets him and flies away with his blood. And it is really a foreshadowing of someone that's going to be in his life later on who is like the mosquito and takes from him and he has to kind of figure out how to work around that or figure out how to tackle that. So yeah, it's definitely another symbolism, and I use a lot of animals within to identify those symbolisms, so I hope readers can identify that too.
Okay. Good afternoon. Hello. Hi, my name is Norine Lafferty. I'm from Yellowknife, Northwest Territories. I live here in Dilo.
Talk a little bit louder.
And this is my dog.
We'll start over. I start over. Yeah, start over. Because you gotta talk loud.
Okay. I get it.
Okay.
So yeah. That's it yet.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Good afternoon. My name is Norine. I can't look at myself. Holy moly.
No, what's wrong with me? Okay. Ready?
Oh, okay. Come on. Okay. Good afternoon. Hi, my name is Norine Lafferty. I can't do that. That's not right. That didn't come out the way I said it did. Okay, one more time. Cut.
3, 2, 1.
So, good afternoon, Katia.
Welcome to the Oprah Show.
Welcome to the show today. You look very pretty.
Thank you.
So I'd like to ask you a few questions about your book. You don't mind? Okay.
Wait, let's try again. Sadie, I'd like to ask you a few questions about this house is not a home.
I'd like to ask you a few questions. I'd like to ask you.
Okay,
Good afternoon. You have to say first.
Yeah, okay, wait. We'll start over, and then when you talk up a little bit and talk to the camera, like you're the host, right?
Good afternoon, Katia. I'd like to ask you a few questions about your book, This House is Not a Home. So the first question I have. Good afternoon.
Wait till I'm sitting.
Good afternoon. My name is Norine Lafferty, and this is Katia Lafferty here. I'd like to ask you. You better tell me what to say. I can't do it.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, this is how it is. Do the movie. I'll never make it. I'm happy.
Let's try again.
Oh, there.
Okay.
Did I say it?
Yeah, that's it. But you were looking at me like you weren't sure who I was. Hi. Hi.
Do you want some, I just...
Johnny?
There, that's better.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Norine Lafferty. I live in Delo, Yellowknife, Northwest Territories. This is my daughter, Katia Lafferty. She's an author of This House Is Not My Home. No, I guess I said it. I'm good. Okay.
This house is not a home.
Good afternoon. What is the connection between Mamma Mia? It's supposed to just come out that way. Okay.
Mummy?
What is the connection between Mummiac and the Lynx?